All right, so who's ready for a new design for living? All right, a lot of us. Who's not ready? Yeah. So how exciting is that? So it's been great. I'm so delighted to be back, and I've missed all of you. You all are my beloved, so I have missed you, and I'm so happy to be back. So today, as you know already, we are going to make a new design for living. How many of you have ever read this book? Anyone here?
What is it?
None of you.
What is it?
Not one of you. It's called A New Design for Living. Can you see it?
What is it?
You can't see it? Anyway, it's A New Design for Living, and it is one of the best books I've ever read.
Who wrote it?
Written by Dr. Ernest Holmes. That's a surprise. Isn't that a big surprise for all of you? Yes. And you can order that book. We don't happen to have any. It was out actually in stock, I should say. It was out of print for a while, but it is back. And it is the book that really was given to me that I found at exactly the right moment in my life. So how many of you have ever had a bump in the road? All of us. Some of you had several bumps. She's raising both hands. Okay. She's had more than one. Several bumps. Okay. So imagine that at just the right moment in your life, that you were given the best ever book that really helped you understand that you are the designer of your reality, that you can design your life in any way that you like. That we have been given, we live in the most amazing country. I'm just saying, I love this country, my country where I was born. And we have the freedom here to create our life exactly as we would like it to be. And I love that. So today, as we explore this idea of designing our life, I'll share with you just three things. Just three things. The first one is called The Double Thread. I happen to bring this. You can all see this one, right? This book is out of print, but you can find it somewhere. I found this at a used bookstore, written by Walter Starkey, who is no longer on the planet, but he studied with Joel Goldsmith. How many of you have heard of Joel Goldsmith? In this particular book, I'll be sharing with you that idea of the double thread. What does that mean anyway? The second thing I will share is called the divine portal. It almost sounds like a sci-fi term. How many of you like sci-fi? And the third thing I'll share with you is what do we do to really live in alignment with our highest spiritual truth? And all of these ideas are about us here at the Center for Spiritual Living. I love our sign back here. And we have about 500 centers around the world who all are teaching a very similar lesson to today's message. So this message is being broadcast from the rooftops and from the pulpits and from the centers all over the world. This whole idea of us being the creator of our own life, the creator of our reality, if you will. So the first item I love, the first thing I'd like to share, and this is part of a reading from Science of Mind. Dr. Ernest Holmes, our founder, and by the way, he studied all of the great spiritual paths of the world. He studied the science. How many of you like science? I love science. He studied the great science of his time and said many profound truths that they're just now discovering scientifically. For example, did you know that your heart has a resonance? And it's not just right here, that your heart actually resonates energy and it actually goes out beyond you. So people get a sense of you even before you speak to them. So your heart, scientifically, they wired people up and they found that your heart has a resonance. And we're going to be offering a workshop here at the end of February. And that's next month, which is actually tomorrow. You probably knew that. So that's the second thing, this divine portal. And the third thing being living in alignment with that spiritual truth of our heart center. So in Science of Mind, Dr. Holmes said this. He said, whatever is true of the universe as a whole must also be true of us. And I want to give you an example of that, a living example. I want you to think of the ocean. How many of you go visit the ocean once in a while? I used to take a trip every year just to go visit the ocean. Because we live about how many hours from the ocean here? About 4 hours? So every year, I think all of us, we should go on a center trip, and we'll go visit the ocean. So think of the ocean, and then think of a drop of ocean water. And if you scientifically went in and took that drop, you would find that it contains within it the exact same molecules, exact same formula, if you will, of the whole ocean. And likewise, and this is taught in all of the major spiritual paths of our planet, that we are made in the image and the likeness of pure spirit. We are made in the image of the divine, just like we are each individualized centers of life. So Holmes goes on to say, whatever is true of the universe or the ocean as a whole must also be true of us as individuals, as some part of the whole. Every one, and think of this for a moment, every one of us is evolved from the universe. So how are we doing so far? We're evolved from the universe as self-conscious thinking centers of living spirit. And as such, must be in nature, reproduce the universe. So another way to say this, and this is from Charles Raymond Barker. Some of you may have heard of him before. He's a great spiritual teacher of past. He said that the entire universe is rushing, pouring, streaming, flowing through us as we sit quiet. So think about that for a moment. The entire universe, he said, is rushing, pouring, streaming, flowing through us as we sit quiet. And we find out in science that this is actually true. That there's big spaces. I know it doesn't look like I'm spaced out, or I have spaces, maybe I'm spaced out. I don't have spaces between, right? It looks solid. But actually, if you scientifically went and looked, there would be big spaces between the molecules of my body scientifically. So there's a lot of space in the universe. And that everything, that we are connected to all that is. So what does that mean in terms of a double threat? What does that mean? Well, we are the divine human. In Science of Mind, we embrace the understanding that the infinite presence, this divine essence that is everywhere, in the universe upon universe upon universe upon universe, this essence, this spirit, this light, let's think of it as light, is everywhere. It is everywhere present. And it has taken on a unique form as you. In the beginning, said Dr. Holmes, there was only that which is this divine essence, this divine energy. And so it made everything out of itself. And so you, as you sit there, you are made out of God stuff. You are divine. And how often do we really think of ourselves? How many of you get caught up in the humanness of our planet? Anyone ever get caught up in that? The drama, they call it drama here in Canada. Drama. Anyone do that? You're not willing to admit it? Oh. So we get caught up in that. However, rather than thinking of ourselves as a mere human, if we can realize that we are made out of light, we are made out of divinity, and that entire universe that is everywhere present, by whatever name you call it, is right here within us. It is actually what we are made out of. And I'll take it a step further. How many of you have read the book, The Divine Matrix? Anyone here? One of you? It's a great book by Greg Braden. I studied it with him years ago. And he studied DNA. And he found scientifically, you know how our DNA has letters? Has letters written in it? That actually our DNA spells the word God in Hebrew. It's Yote-Vote in Hebrew. Actually says the name God in Hebrew. And when I read that, I went, oh my God. Oh my God. That's our DNA. I mean, how big is that? That's huge. And so, spirit, or the infinite, is right where we are. It's literally what we are made out of. Is in our DNA, and I love that. So we are here as the double thread. And what I love about that idea, the double thread, is there's one thread, right? One thread, but it has two strands. It's all God. It's all divine. And so we are not simply, and you've heard this before, we're not simply a human being having a human experience, or some people say we're a spiritual being having a human experience. We are actually, the truth of us, is we are a spiritual being having a spiritual experience. So take a moment right now and think about your life. Is there anywhere in your life where you could say it's not quite there yet? Not quite there yet. Where I am kind of caught up, or that I have a bump in the road and I temporarily have, I call it spiritual amnesia. Got a little bit of forgetfulness. So we're not merely human beings having a human experience. We are made out of divinity. We are divine beings. And so we're going to do a little exercise right now. So I want you right now to make yourselves into a V. So just kind of go like this with me. Make yourselves into a V. And I want you to close your eyes, and I want you to imagine that you are looking through the ceiling of this roof, all the way through 3 stories, it's 3 stories high, all the way up into the cosmos, looking up, and beyond the building, beyond the city, into the infinite cosmos, the infinite universe upon universe, the divine reality. And you're embracing this reality with your hands. You are saying yes to the divine, to the cosmos. And now I want you to bring your arms down as if you are bringing the infinite, this awareness, into your body, into your mind, into your heart. You are aware. You are literally awake, aware, alive. You are bringing that infinite awareness right into your mind, into your heart, into your soul, that awareness. Just kind of breathing with that. Bringing that awareness into our body, embodying that truth. And every one of us has taken form. The divine has taken its form through us, embodied within us. And so we are made out of divinity. Just kind of allow that to sink in. We are made out of divinity. Here at the most perfect time we could ever be, the time of the great awakening of our planet. We are made out of God stuff. We are made out of light. So all of that, open your eyes, all of that is just part of the first thing I wanted to share. We're made out of the divine. Now, the second part, which I love, is that we are the portal. I like to also call it the window. So if you can see yourself as a portal or a window through which the divine is shining, through which the divine is expressing. And you might want to carry a little Windex if you're a window. Anyone ever notice? I have this lovely little friend upstairs where I live. It's a 4-legged friend with lots of hair. But he happens to be blonde, too. So he'll come over and he'll rub his little nose all over my glass door because he wants to come in and say hi. His name is Tucker. He's a beautiful golden lab. And he put little nose prints. Anyone have a dog, so you know what I'm talking about? Little nose prints all over my door. So I have to take Windex probably every week, every couple of days, and clean it because otherwise you can't hardly see up there with these little love nose prints. So liken unto that, what could our nose prints be? Who wants to guess? What would that be? That's kind of blocking our divinity from shining brightly. What might be judgment? Addiction. That might be like a little nose print. What else? Fear? Good. Could be fear. Could be addiction. Loneliness. It could be rage and anger. Right? So what might it be that is kind of blocking your window or your portal, that's making little prints in there that need to be cleared, right? And so I love this whole idea that we are this window or this portal through which the divine shines. So our job here on this planet at this time, right now, and every moment, is to keep our window clear, to keep our window clean. Anyone? Some of you wear glasses. I wear glasses too. I have contacts on right now. What happens when your glasses mine, I go swimming, and so they get chlorine on them. You know, I take them off, but they still get stuff on them, and we have to clean our glasses. Well, just like that, we have to clean our window. In Science of Mind literature, we read this, that our souls are on a pathway of an endless and ever-expanding experience, a journey of awakening to what we have been created by and what we have been created for. And along the pathway, our work and our joy is to allow more of our divinity to express through us. And I believe that's what we are all doing on this journey during this lifetime. And I also know that any bumps in the road that we may have gone through or are going through are part of that journey. It's something that our soul has chosen. So next time you find yourself on a big bump in the road, anyone ever have those? I asked you already. Anyone in one now? You can say to yourself, wow, isn't this interesting what my soul is creating? Why would your soul do that? Why would it create a challenge? For your expansion. Because if you are evolving the universe, which you are, and it is an eternal journey, then every bump in the road adds to the collective opportunity. If nothing ever happened, and we were born and we went through this perfect life and we were this perfect little person and nothing ever challenged us, what would happen when we left the planet? Would we grow? Would we expand? It's not that we want to create these bumps in the road, but I believe our soul chooses them for our expansion. So if you can kind of reframe, I call that reframing, that'll be helpful. And so we want to open our window, if you will, to keep our light shining. We open our window or our portal wider than it's ever been. So we're going to do this together. I want you to go like this. And this is opening your heart or opening your window, if you will, the window of your consciousness. And we're very slowly going to open it and just feel it getting more and more open. We're opening our window to allow our divinity to shine through. And just open at whatever pace you want. Just opening the portals of your window greater than it's ever been. And you're allowing this divinity that is you to shine forth. And if you're not comfortable leaving your window open because it's winter, you can close it again. But I like to leave my heart open. I like to leave it open. So our reading today was all about this new design for living, which has to do with divine portal. And it says, right now we are as much of this spiritual reality as we will ever be, because spirit is what we are. And I wanted to share this. Is very powerful. Think for a moment about your life and how you have evolved so far. Is anyone here the same that you've been, say, 30 years ago? Anyone the same? How about when you were born? We're not the same. We have grown, we've evolved. Well, something happened to me, and I brought a show and tell today. Do any of you know what this is? It's a chalice. And so I'm going to say about 35 years ago, quite a long time ago, my evolutionary giant step for me, the windows of my soul, the portal of my consciousness began to open. I was asked by a priest, because I was part of a beautiful Catholic center, and I was the very first one in California, and asked to be a Eucharistic minister. And so for me, that was really big. A Eucharistic minister means that you serve Holy Communion. And so I would take a host. People would line up. You know, I'm like really shy. I don't do public speaking then. And I would say, this is the body of Christ. And I started to have experiences where I actually saw the Christ presence in every person that came forward. And it scared me. It scared me. I didn't know what to think about that. And then I looked at the priest, and I said, you know, his light was so huge. And so that was the beginning of my evolutionary step. And for every one of us, it's different. So perhaps there's something that's calling you. It may be a little bit uncomfortable. but some great thing that's calling you forward. And if it hasn't done it yet, you can ask. Because when you ask, it is given. Say, I'm ready. And I did this about 3 weeks ago. Every year I kind of start my year, I kind of do a visioning, and I say, okay, I'm ready for my next great evolutionary step. What is it? And guess what it said? Anyone guess? It said, and I was like, wait a minute, I've heard this before. It said that the most important thing that I could possibly do is to love. And that I was here to be the heart of God. That's a big job. Any of you want that job? That'd be a whole big job, right? Let's be the heart of God. Oh my gosh. So, be ready. If you're ready to ask, what is next for you? That's all you have to say. What I'm ready. Just say, I'm ready. What's next for me? And watch out. Watch out. Because this world needs people like this community, like us, that are alive, that are aware, that are awake, to know that we are divine beings on an eternal journey, that the divine, this light lives in us as us, that we are made out of God's stuff. It needs people that are awake. There's so much going on in our world. So what is the message that you might receive? It's just something to think about. And this kind of brings us to the last point for today, the very last thing. And that is, how do we live in alignment with our greatest possibility, our greatest spiritual truth? How do we live in alignment with that? Well, the great value of living in alignment with our high spiritual truth, both the divine nature of our being and the principles we value, is that we engage in spiritual living. That means every day you wake up and that you remember. And how do we remember? For me, it's meditation. For me, every single day for the last 30 plus years, I wake up, I make my coffee, and I sit down and I meditate. I spend at least an hour to an hour and a half every day. That's the most important thing I do with my life, is I meditate. And meditation is when we are really listening, when we quiet our mind and we truly listen. And if you haven't spent time every day in meditation and prayer, I invite you to give it a try. It will surprise you. It will delight you. It will shift you. And you will be given your next great evolutionary step, whatever that might be. Now, sometimes there are challenges. So I'm going to give you an example of that. How many of you heard recently, this just happened on our news, that there are 5 men who are very avid outdoorsmen, and they were caught in an avalanche and they passed away. That is a very difficult thing for people, unless you are aware to the truth. So what is the truth of that? What do you think might be the truth of these 5 wonderful men? They're different. They even gave their name and their ages. They're not young. I thought, well, maybe they're all like in their 20s. You know how we are when we're in our 20s. We'll go off the trail, right? We'll go off. They say, don't go off the trail. We'll go off the trail when we're in our 20s, right? Even teenagers, right?
I still do that.
Yeah. And these were seasoned men. There were hunters and fishermen. Their ages were like 47 to 54. These are not teenagers. What would be the spiritual truth of that? Anyone want to guess? They planned it.
And they died with a smile on their faces.
And they died with a smile on their face.
They were having fun.
They were having fun. So it's not, we don't deny the human experience. I'm one that gets sad. When I hear sad things, when I saw that, I was like, I go to sad. Anyone here go to sad? I don't get mad, I get sad. So I was sad when my mother died. I was sad when my father died. When my son died. I was very sad for all these things. And then when I hear something like that, I just think of the families.
Yes.
I think of the families, the people that are left behind. These 5 men from Alberta, their families are in grief. So how do we look at that? We know what I knew, even though I felt the sadness, the human sadness, is I knew that their souls chose that. That's how we live in our spiritual truth, to know that they are not having this horrible, awful experience where they're completely dead and they're never going to see their family again. I know, beyond the shadow of any doubt, that we are eternal beings, that I will once again enjoy the company of my family, who most of which have passed on, right? And so anytime there is a death, it seems so final. But they chose that. They chose that. When there's an airplane crash with, hundreds of people, they chose that. It's hard to kind of wrap your mind around. Why would they choose that? Or someone's diagnosed with some disease. Why would you choose that? Who in their right mind? But what it is, it's an awakening for all of us. It's for us to practice our spiritual truth. And that is that these men that left in this avalanche allows us to be alive, allows us to be more alive, and to be witnessing, if you will, this amazing journey they're on. Because their bodies have gone, but they are still alive and well in spirit. So, Science of Mind wraps this up by saying, when we learn to trust the universe, we shall be happy, we shall be prosperous, and we shall be well. God is always God. No matter what our emotional storm or our sadness or our upset may be, or what our objective situation is, there is always something hidden in the inner being that has never been violated. We may stumble, but always there is that eternal voice forever whispering in our ear, that thing which causes the eternal quest, that thing which forever sings and sings. We keep our faith with the reality that spirit is within and everywhere. It is within and all around us and everywhere, powerfully, powerfully present, equally present everywhere is spirit. And we allow and invite ourselves to be in congruence with the spiritual truth of ourselves, our highest being. What we identify with, listen to this, what we identify with, we become. And what we become is our message to the world. So what is your message to the world? What is it that you came here on this planet at this time to express? What is your message? What is your message to the world? If you were to leave suddenly in an avalanche, what would people remember about you? Very important question. So to bring this all together, just to remember, it's a call for action for all of us. Number one, we are the double thread. We are the divine human. Number two, we are the divine window or the portal through which the divine is expressing. And three, we are called to live in alignment with the absolute truth of our being, our highest spiritual awareness, that God is always God, and we can trust that universe. So let's close with an affirmation. I'm going to have you repeat after me. I open my entire being.
I open my entire being.
Let's try that again. I'll say it first. I open my entire being.
I open my entire being.
Much better. To the reality of God.
To the reality of God.
As that which I am.
As that which I am.
I am the divine.
I am the divine.
I am the double thread.
I am the double thread.
I am God's window.
I am God's window.
Through which the divine lives.
Through which divine lives.
Moves. And has its being.
And has its being.
I now choose.
I now choose.
To live in alignment.
To live in alignment.
With my highest spiritual truth.
With
with
my highest spiritual truth.
And know that I am a blessing
And know that I am a blessing
to this world,
to this world,
just by being me.
just by being me.
And so it is.
And so it is.
And so we are.
And so we are.
And so I am.
And so I am.
Oh, you guys are really good. Really good. All right, let's close our eyes just for a minute. We're just going to anchor this into consciousness very quickly as we bring our time to a close. And Rael will be playing the wings. If you hear music, it is him, Rael, playing the wings, the angel wings. And so in that sound, that beautiful sound of the wings, I just take a moment simply to recognize there is only one infinite and loving presence, one power, one life. And that power and that life is everywhere present in the universe upon universe upon universe upon universe upon universe, forever expanding. And that same power that created the entire cosmos created me, created you, created everyone and everything out of itself. And therefore, I know my oneness with that presence. And knowing that, I speak my word right here and right now, that there is a deep realization within me, within every cell of my being, that I am a divine being, having a divine experience. And I am here at the most perfect time to be alive, the great awakening of our planet. I ask for a deep realization that I am the divine window of God, and that I use my Windex to clear the deck, to clear the glass, to clear the radiant light may shine through the window of God I am. And so right now I'm imaging that I am using my divine Windex on that glass. And I am wiping away any nose prints, any smears, any smudges that are on there, so that my light, my heart, my soul can radiate its truth. The divine as me. And that I now choose to live in alignment with my highest spiritual truth. That I get up every day and that I deeply realize the presence of the divine within every single being on this planet, within the planet itself, within the trees and in nature, the animals, the air, the water, every part and particle of this universe. For Dr. Holmes said that the universe is the body of the divine. And so I live inside the circle that I call God. I'm inside of that, and it is inside of me. And for that awareness, I am so grateful. Thank you. Thank you, life. Thank you, God, for this truth. And I realize that I create the design of my life. The divine design. And I create a new design for living. And so I release this prayer, this affirmative prayer, knowing it is already done. And in gratitude, I simply say, thank you, thank you, thank you, Spirit. Thank you, life. Thank you, God. And we say together, and so it is.